MSW Media. Thanks to Fast Growing Trees for supporting the podcast. Fast Growing Trees, plant experts, curate thousands of easy-to-grow plant, shrub, and tree varieties for your unique climate. Meyer lemons to evergreens and everything in between. Go to fastgrowingtrees.com/dailybeans now to get 15% off your entire order.
News with swearing. Daily beans, daily beans. Daily beans, daily beans.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Beans for Friday, September 15th, 2023. Today, Special Counsel David Weiss has indicted Hunter Biden on federal firearm charges. Wisconsin's Republican Assembly leader has created a panel to review the criteria to impeach Justice Janet Protaseiwicz. Fulton County Judge McAfee has ruled that he will not try all 19 co-defendants together in the 2020 Georgia election interference case. Threats mount against prosecutors and FBI agents working on the Hunter Biden probe, and the Republican-controlled Wisconsin Senate has voted to oust the state's nonpartisan election chief. I'm Allison Gill.
And I'm Dana Goldberg.
Hi, Dana. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. I hope you're feeling better and everything's been good over the last 24 hours since I've seen your beautiful face.
Everything's okay. My voice is still a little bit raspy. Too much news. I've been over talking with all the news. But I'm doing great. How are you?
I am good. I'm happy that the weekend's here. I actually am not at a gala this weekend. I'm celebrating a friend's 50th, and then I hit the road running after that.
Yeah, that's awesome, though. 50 is good. Mine's coming up in a couple months.
Nice.
Also, a quick hit. As I predicted, the judge in Fulton County in the election interference case has ruled that he will not force everyone to be tried on October 23rd with Sydney and the cheese. Now that Meadows isn't faced with a potential October trial date, he has withdrawn his bid for an emergency stay from the 11th Circuit, and the 11th Circuit granted it today and canceled the hearing today. So Meadows' appeal will go forward, just not at an expedited pace, because he thought, holy crap, if Fani Willis wins her argument that all of us have to be tried on October 23rd, I need time to appeal I'm trying to move this to federal court. So they were going to do an expedited thing. But now the judge has said, bunch of you can go later. The cheese and Kraken have to go first on October 23rd. And anybody else who wants an early trial will likely be grouped in with them as well. So that's what's happening down in Fulton County. We have a lot of other news to get to in Fulton County. We're going to cover it all in the next episode of Cleanup on Aisle 45 with Pete Struck and myself. And we have a lot of news to cover today. So let's hit the hot notes. Hot notes. All right, first up from Allison Gill at Post News. That's me, yours truly. Special Counsel David, I've never cited myself before. Special Counsel David Weiss has indicted Hunter Biden on federal gun charges in the District of Delaware with less than a month before the statute of limitations would have expired. It would have been October 12th, 2023. He bought the gun for 11 days, never loaded it, never used it, didn't use it in a crime. And most of the time we see these gun charges, they're in addition to a gun crime. Like, you'll get somebody with an armed robbery, and then they'll also have these gun charges. The indictment, it includes 3 felony charges. The first 2 seem repetitive, that Hunter Biden lied on a form. These are false statement charges only. So they're not really firearm charges, but he lied on a federal form saying he was not addicted to drugs when he purchased a firearm. And Special Counsel David Weiss says that he was, and he knew that he was addicted to crack cocaine at the time. Then the third count is for actually possessing the firearm while being addicted to narcotics. Now, the first argument I think Hunter Biden's lawyer, Abby Lowell, will make is that Weiss and Hunter Biden, have a valid and active plea deal, a diversion agreement on the gun charges. You don't have to have the probation office signing off on it. The SCOTUS has ruled in the past that these kinds of agreements don't just disappear. They are valid and enforceable. Further, if this case even makes it to trial, DOJ would have to prove Hunter Biden was addicted to drugs and that he knew he was addicted to drugs when he filled out that form. Not sure how they're going to go about doing that. And additionally, I think they might make the argument that the Fifth Circuit has declared the third count unconstitutional. And the Supreme Court will be deciding on that issue at some point. Now, the Fifth Circuit does not cover Delaware, so it's not really precedent there, but this can be argued pretty readily. The Fifth Circuit relied on a previous SCOTUS decision that deemed that limitations on purchasing firearms to, those considerations have to be older than the time. Like the original language of the Constitution doesn't have these limitations, in other words. And so in 2022, Supreme Court ruled that if you're going to put limits on guns, it has to be stuff, you have to limit it on considerations for stuff that's been around since then. And being addicted to crack cocaine is not a long-standing reason to limit the sale of firearms. Now, that's per SCOTUS. You and I might disagree.
Right. Sure.
But this is, with this particular Supreme Court. And finally, the first two counts, like I said, are only for lying on a federal form, which is bad. You're not supposed to lie on a federal form, but not for buying or possessing the firearm. And those lies have to be material. We talked about this in the Durham case when they said Sussman lied to Peter Baker at the FBI. That lie has to be material. And there was no materiality to that lie in the Durham case. And there would be no material lie here if the underlying crime of possessing the gun is deemed unconstitutional. If it is, then his lie becomes irrelevant or immaterial. So anyway, what about tax charges? If Weiss brings tax charges, and people are expecting him to, they would be brought in other jurisdictions. The reason he needed to be a special counsel, so he could bring charges in other jurisdictions besides Delaware, where he is a U.S. attorney. And those jurisdictions include California and D.C., but most likely California, as there were doubts that charges for the tax years of 2014 through 2016, when he was in D.C., would happen, right? In fact, David Weiss said, we're not going to charge 2014 and 2015, but I'm not sure about 2016. But the statute of limitations would have expired on that anyway, unless they consider all of his not paying taxes, in 2018 to sort of latch onto that and extend the statute of limitations. But according to the IRS agent Shapley, who is a Jim Jordan whistleblower, and his handwritten notes, Weiss said they weren't going to bring tax charges for 2014 and 2015. So we'll see what ends up happening. I imagine some tax charges will come out in California. And there were also discussions in court at a hearing of possibly charging him with Foreign Agents Registration Act charges. But DOJ has had pretty cruddy track records lately with getting FARA convictions. We think of Tom Barrack. He was acquitted. Bijan Kian, they just dropped his case. Gregory Craig, they dropped his conviction was overturned. And those are just a few examples since I've been covering the news. Now, I personally don't think the gun charges will go to trial because I think they'll either be dismissed on pretrial motions, especially a motion to dismiss based on that enforceable diversion agreement, or selective prosecution. If his last name weren't Biden, he wouldn't be charged with these crimes. In fact, Nicole Wallace couldn't find a single instance where these gun charges were brought alone without another crime taking place with the gun. Or because they'll reach a plea agreement, they'll redo the one that fell apart. But my bet is the former. I think this will be dismissed before trial. Please sign up for Post and read my stories. It's free. My content is always free. You can sign up using the link in my Twitter bio or the link in today's show notes. It's actually always in the show notes. So thank you.
Thanks so much, AG. This is from Scott Bauer at the Associated Press. Wisconsin's Republican Assembly leader announced Wednesday that he's created a panel to investigate the criteria for impeachment, as he most taking that unprecedented step against a liberal state Supreme Court justice. Republicans are targeting the newly elected Justice Janet Protaseiwicz over comments she made during her winning campaign about redistricting and nearly $10 million in donations she received from the state Democratic Party. Well, the impeachment criteria panel being created by Assembly Speaker Robin Vos will consist of 3 former Wisconsin Supreme Court justices whom Vos told the Associated Press he would not name until after their work is done. Vos said they were not being paid and he expected their work to be complete in the next few weeks. To further investigate possible impeachment against Protaseiwicz comes a day after Vos and Republicans introduced a bill modeled after the law in Iowa, where new maps would be drawn by nonpartisan legislative staff and be approved by the GOP-controlled legislature for 2024. But Governor Tony Evers said he would veto a plan, and advocates criticized it because it gives the legislature the ability to draw maps if those created by the nonpartisan staff are rejected 2 times. Vos called that argument a red herring. And this is a quote: "If someone you think we're going to sneak around to a Republican map that has some kind of favor and get Tony Evers' signature on it, I think you're smoking something," Vos said Wednesday on Wisconsin Eye. He said it's not going to happen. Vos said that offering the redistricting bill was an off-ramp to impeachment, which he called a last option. He said they're making it seem
bullshit.
I know. He said they're making it seem like I'm foaming at the mouth to have an impeachment process. He is. Voss said that on WISN AM, where he announced the formation of the impeachment review panel. He went on to say, but that's the last thing I want to have happen, which is why we have taken what I would say is a pretty radical step to offer a different path. Well, Republicans have called on Protaseiwicz to recuse herself from a pair of Democratic-backed redistricting lawsuits seeking to overturn GOP-drawn maps. Republicans argue that she can't fairly hear the cases because she called the current maps unfair and rigged during the campaign and accepted nearly $10 million from the Wisconsin Democratic Party. Now, she has yet to decide on recusal to those cases, but she did recuse from another lawsuit filed this week asking the Wisconsin Supreme Court to block any attempts by legislature to impeach her. Now, it's up to each justice to decide whether to recuse from a case, by the way. Impeachment's permitted under Wisconsin Constitution only for corrupt conduct in office or for the commission of a crime. Now, it takes a simple majority in the Assembly to impeach and 2/3 majority in the Senate to convict. Republicans hold a 64-35 majority in the Assembly and a 2/3, 22-11 majority in the Senate. They built those large majorities on the maps they drew in 2011, viewed as among the most gerrymandered in the country, which have been upheld by the Supreme Court when it was controlled by conservatives. Well, if the Assembly impeached her, Protaseiwicz would be barred from any duties as a justice until the Senate acted. Now, that could effectively stop her from voting on redistricting without removing her from office and creating a vacancy that Democratic Governor Tony Evers would, of course, fill. If she's convicted by the Senate or resigns, and there is a vacancy before December 1st, that would trigger an April election to fill out the remainder of her 10-year term. Now, Protaseiwicz won the election in April by 11 points.
Yeah, that's why she was fucking elected.
Yeah, to do her fucking job by Democrats.
So this is all fascism. Okay. Wisconsin. I hope this doesn't go anywhere. I really do. Next up, from NBC, prosecutors and FBI agents involved in the Hunter Biden investigation have been the targets of threats and harassment by people, MAGA people, who think they haven't been tough enough on Hunter Biden. That's according to government officials and congressional testimony obtained exclusively by NBC News. It's part of a dramatic uptick in threats against FBI agents that has coincided with attacks on the FBI and the Justice Department by congressional Republicans and the former guy, Donald Trump, who've accused both agencies of participating in a conspiracy to subvert justice amid 2 federal indictments of Donald Trump. The threats have prompted the FBI to create a standalone unit to investigate and mitigate them. That's according to a previously unreleased transcript of congressional testimony. Quote, "We have stood up an entire threat unit to address the threats that the FBI employees' facilities are receiving." That's Jennifer Moore, then an executive assistant director of human resources for the FBI, and she told that to the House Judiciary Committee in June. It is unprecedented. It's a number we've never had before. It's going to be about 10 people when it's finished, she said. We're still in the process of staffing it right now, but their sole mission on a daily basis is threats to FBI employees and facilities. Moore told lawmakers the threats to FBI agents and facilities had more than doubled. There were more in the 6 months from October to March than in the previous year. More recent data was not available. Officials say the pace of threats increased after the FBI investigations of Trump became public last summer and has not slowed since. The FBI has declined to comment.
All right. Thank you so much, AG. And from Molly Beck at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, fueled by lingering outrage over the 2020 election within Wisconsin GOP, Senate Republicans voted to fire the state's top election official today, a move that's all but certain to catapult Wisconsin's election agency into a legal battle over who actually oversees voting in this battleground state heading into 2024. In a party line vote during a floor session in the state capitol, the state Senate rejected the nomination of Wisconsin Elections Commission Administrator Megan Wolf, the leader of the state's elections agency that has been, and she's become a target of those who harbor intense distrust of election officials amid a baseless campaign, by the way, from the former president to sow doubt in the legitimacy of his 2020 election loss. Critics of Wolf, many of whom in 2022 supported impossible efforts to decertify the 2020 election, they applauded from the Senate gallery following the vote. Now, Republicans argue they must fire Wolf in order to address the lack of confidence concerns Trump first fostered without evidence to back up his claims. Senator Mark Spritzer, Democrat from Beloit, said the move would instead inject unnecessary uncertainty into the administration of elections heading into the next presidential cycle when Trump is favored to be on the ballot. Well, Spitzer said the Senate was, and I quote, relitigating the 2020 election to appease Trump. Well, Senator Rob Cowles, he's a Republican in Green Bay, said he voted to reject Wolf because of the 2021 state audit that found 84 instances of ballots being counted twice when voting machines jammed. 11 people who had likely died between the time they cast absentee ballots and the election day. Now, in addition, auditors found 8 people who may have illegally cast ballots while still serving felony sentences. But overall, the audit concluded the election was administered without widespread issues. We know this. At the time, Cowles said in a tweet, the review reveals election officials and lawmakers have work to do, but that the audit showed us that the election was largely safe and secure. When asked whether firing Wolf would lend credence to Trump's false claims about Wisconsin's 2020 election, Assembly Speaker Robin Vos said, and I quote, "I guess I hadn't thought about it from that perspective." What? Whatever. Even though lawmakers voted Wolf out, she's likely to stay in her job as inevitable litigation swallows this issue for months. Now, that's because Thursday's proceeding isn't being recognized by Wolf or many Democrats as legitimate because the Republican-controlled state Senate forced a vote on Wolf's future, even though the Bipartisan Elections Commission charged with hiring her did not put forward a nomination of Wolf to consider. Now, following the vote, Democratic Governor Tony Evers said he asked Attorney General Josh Cowell to represent Wolf in a lawsuit aimed at keeping her in her job. This is a quote, "Wisconsin Republicans attempt to illegally fire Wisconsin's elections administrator without cause today shows that they are continuing to escalate efforts to sow distrust and disinformation about our elections, denigrate our clerks, poll workers, and election administrators, and undermine basic tenets of democracy, including the peaceful transfer of power." And that's from Evers, and well fucking said.
Yeah, very well said. Wow, thanks so much for that reporting. I don't know what's going on in Wisconsin, but we need to fix it. And hopefully the Democratic Party there will do just that with the ballot. All right, everybody, we have a lot of good news to get to, but stick around. We have to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey, everybody. After quite a bit of effort, my interior design is coming together, but the outdoors, totally different story. Got the backyard done, but I need the front yard. It needs a lot of help, especially with my track record with plants. But luckily, there's fastgrowingtrees.com to the rescue. Navigating plant choices can be kind of overwhelming, but Fast Growing Trees really simplifies it. They've handpicked thousands of plants, ensuring you find the right fit for your environment and exact needs. Forget hopping between gardening centers. Just a few clicks online and your chosen plants are en route, arriving in just 1 to 2 days. From creating a serene privacy hedge to a cool shade spot in your garden, the experts are there online to help guide your choices. They provide personalized and professional insights at any time. I cannot rave enough about Fast Growing Trees. Thanks to them, I've got a lemon tree, a lime tree, and a Haas avocado tree on the way, all without emptying my wallet. It's going to be guacamole time at the Calftown compound. And I bet you'll strike gold there too. Try them out. You will see for yourself. Join over 1 million happy gardeners who found their green thumb thanks to Fast Growing Trees. Their 30-day Alive and Thrive guarantee, that's their commitment to your garden's flourishing future. Listeners to this show get 15% off your entire order when you go to fastgrowingtrees.com/dailybeans, but only through October 15th. That's 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com/dailybeans. fastgrowingtrees.com/dailybeans.
Finding your perfect home was hard, but thanks to Burrow, furnishing it has never been easier. Burrow's easy-to-assemble modular sofas and sectionals are made from premium, durable materials, including stain and scratch-resistant fabrics. So they're not just comfortable and stylish, they're built to last. Plus, every single Burrow order ships free right to your door. Right now, get 15% off your first order at burrow.com/SXM. That's 15% off at burrow.com/SXM.
Your wedding will be one of the happiest days of your life, and Blue Nile can help you celebrate it with a gift that'll last a lifetime. Whether you're looking for wedding bands, a gift for your partner, or an unforgettable thank you to your bridesmaids, Blue Nile offers a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Plus, expert guidance to ensure you find the perfect piece. Experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999 at BlueNile.com. BlueNile.com.
Everybody, welcome back. It's time for the good news.
Who likes good news, everyone? Then good news, everyone.
Sure. Good news. And if you have any good news, confessions, corrections, a what the mutt, a find the cat, a what the heck wine, where I guess the horse breed, I'll try to guess your cat breeds, but again, I only know like 2. You can send everything. Shout out to loved ones, shout out to a small business in your area, shout out to yourself. Just go to dailybeanspod.com and click on contact, and we will read it on the air. All right, first up, we have a correction from Alan F. I love the show. On Wednesday's show, Do Good, Be Well, Dana said that Jack Reed was a Republican senator from Long Island. Close, he's a Democrat from the state of Rhode Island and Province Plantations, the state whose area increases 3% when the tide goes out. You are the best.
How did I just make up all this shit that was wrong? Was it in a story?
Yeah, I think I think I remember that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Alan. I definitely don't want to spread lies about people, but I must have been reading something that was, anyway. Yeah. Now I know. I just can't laugh at how wrong I was about that. All right. Now, AG's favorite, a pronunciation correction. Here we go. This is from Kitty, I'm assuming Colonel?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, Kitty Colonel, a badass, and she uses pronouns she and her. Now, not that it's a big deal because Congress fucking sucks. By the way, both of you are amazing women. Cloture is pronounced clo with a long O, and CHIR is in chirp. So I think it's cloture. Cloture. Mm-hmm. Like name and cloture. Yeah. I've been loving you since the kitchen days. Thank you for being my bright light in the darkness of the MAGA infected military.
Yeah, but the MAGA also hates the military, so that's weird.
Yeah.
Thank you for that correction, Cloture. Next up from Evan, Allison may feel foolish about saying aluminum instead of aluminium, but keep in mind that Humphrey Davies died from habitually inhaling nitrous oxide. So who's laughing now? That's awesome. Thanks, Evan. And from Laura, pronounced she and her. Hello, badass beans queens. I have a sound off I would like to share. I am beyond angry at Rep. Lauren Boebert's behavior at the Buell Theater in Denver, Colorado. I'm on the board for a small nonprofit for a historic theater owned by the city. We provide fundraising support for that theater for items not included in the city's budget. Our expenses for many of our events doubled this fall because of new security protocols put in place by the city that includes hiring off-duty police officers. Because of this additional expense, we have lost money on all the events we've hosted this fall. Also worth mentioning is our ushers and our volunteers. They are there because they love the theater and want to make certain every guest has a pleasant experience. They are not babysitters for unruly guests. How someone like Lauren Boebert got reelected to represent others when she clearly lacks empathy is beyond me. Her and her ilk are costing us all time and money. You can bet I'll be donating my time and money to the person who runs against her in 2024, and I don't even live in Colorado. Heads up, Laura, that person's name is Adam Frisch. Thanks for letting me get that off my chest and for all you do for Pod Pet Tax. I have some photos of my first and only grand cat, Lydia. I love the way she sachets into the room. You can almost hear her say, "And who are you?"
Excuse me.
Oh, she's adorable.
She is adorable.
Oh, and you know what?
How that second picture got taken.
We get the bonus Beetlejuice plush toy, maybe in reference to the musical that Lauren Boebert was looking. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, this is cute. Look at the feet.
So sweet.
Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you indeed. All right, this is from Michelle, pronouns she and her. Hello, Beans Queens. When AG mentioned on the Jack podcast recently that a clever person in the interwebs repurposed Kenny Rogers' song Lucille into Usual? What is that?
Lucille.
Lucille. Okay, she's spelled differently. Yep. Okay. God, I'm so embarrassed sometimes, and I'm like, what is that word? Anyway.
That one's a weird one.
All right,
because they spelled it differently.
Good. Okay. Two things happened. First, also, it's something I wasn't privy to. So I'm like, what the hell are these people talking about? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you were there that day on that episode of Jack.
All right. Two things happened. First, it gave my husband and me a good chuckle. Second, it got the song stuck in my head. Well, just today, as it plays in the background of my mind, I remembered that I sang one line wrong for much of my life. For years, I thought he sang, "You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille. 400 children and a crop in the field." That would be a lot of children. It's actually 4 hungry children. Oh my God, that's really funny, Michelle. Thanks so much, AG and DG, for all the things that you and your team do to keep us informed, and especially for the good news. For Pod Pet Tax, a picture of our beautiful standard Schnauzer Jasper, who crossed the Rainbow Bridge in January of 2020, and who we still miss every day. What a beard face.
Beard Fossé. Oh,
Yes.
Look how beautiful.
That is a beautiful schnauzer.
Yeah. Yeah, so somebody put on Twitter, Yuscil Taveras had, signed a cooperation agreement, Dana, and somebody said, you picked a fine time to leave me, Yuscil. And
Oh, God.
we were cracking up about that. And I love it, Michelle, that in your head, you're like, 400 children and a crop. And then you're like, wait, that's not right. That can't be right. Like we sing a song we haven't sung in decades and then realize it has to be wrong.
Oh, my
so
God.
Great. All right, next up from Susan, pronoun she and her, but this says for Dana. So Dana, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, I'm going to close this out. Your story about aluminum reminded me of a joke my mother, may she rest in peace, used to tell. A woman took her pots into the repair shop to have their bottoms resurfaced. And she asked, are you copper bottomed, my man? He said, no, I'm aluminium, mum.
That was a valiant effort.
That was aluminiuming, mum. Aluminiuming? Let me just redo this. Hold on. Let me go through this live on the show. Aluminiuming, mum?
Yes. I think it's, are you copper bottoming them, my man? No, I'm aluminiuming them,
mum. Okay. See, I'm glad you helped with that one. I have a hard enough time with the English language. Sometimes that was a tongue twister.
They gave that to you. So rude.
I think it was a setup.
I think so too. I'm
worried that the listeners don't think I'm intelligent sometimes.
No, that is not it at all.
Some listener like, God, she's really funny, but holy shit.
That is not it at all, and you know it. Oh, that's funny though. No, I'm
man.
aluminiuming. Yeah, I can't do that. I can't fucking do that. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Who resurfaces the bottoms of their pots?
That's
Just
also
buy
a
new
fair
pots
question.
From Green Pan, non-stick. And
I love my Green Pans, by the way. I know that you always do the shout out. I love my set from Green Pan. They're phenomenal. And
aren't they wonderful?
Yeah, and it's a healthy non-stick because normally you're burning off this stuff and ingesting it. And you're not with Green Pan. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love them. All right, free little ad for Green Pan there. Thank you to our sponsors.
Boom, you're welcome.
But yeah, no, I love mine too. All right, but that's it. That's the whole week of news. It was one of the longest weeks of news I've encountered, if not the longest, most news in 1 week that I've encountered in my time reporting the news. But I just wanted to say thanks, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. Do you have any final thoughts, my friend?
You know what I do?
What?
I just want to say a lot of this news is inundated. And I know we talk about this and AG says it in the sign off, but take breaks. Like this was a big news week. And I know for a lot of you that Beans is not the only podcast you listen to. Don't get weighed down by this stuff. It is a lot. It's going to continue. So give yourself some time. If you listen to a podcast, go for a walk. If you're listening while you walk, make sure you do some other kind of self-care because we're not built for this. Like we as human beings were not built for this much inundation of just bad shit. So make sure you cleanse yourself, sage yourself. I don't care what you have to do. Find something that is positive.
Yeah, agreed 100%. Thank you so much for that, Dana, and everybody have a wonderful weekend. Until Monday, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take care of the planet, take care of your mental health, vote blue over Q.
And take everyone you know with you.
I've been AG.
And I've been DG.
And them's the Beans.
The Daily Beans is written and executive produced by Allison Gill with additional research and reporting by Dana Goldberg. Sound design and editing is by Desiree McFarlane, with art and web design by Joelle Reeder with Moxie Design Studios. Music for The Daily Beans is written and performed by They Might Be Giants, and the show is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, please visit mswmedia.com.
MSW Media.
Hi, I'm Liz Winstead.
I'm Moji Alawode Al.
And we're the hosts of Feminist Buzzkills, the only weekly podcast that helps you navigate the post-Roe hellscape.
We dissect all the news from that sketchy intersection of abortion and misogyny with our guests, the abortion providers and activists working on the ground. Plus, we have amazing comedians to help us laugh through the rage.
Feminist Buzzkills drops Fridays wherever you get your pod fix. Listen and subscribe, because when BS is popping, we pop off.
Hi, I'm Frances Callier.
And I'm Angela V. Shelton.
And we're Frangela.
You know what you need in your life? The Final Word podcast.
Yes, you do.
That's right. It is the final word on all things political and pop cultural.
Where we make real news real funny.
Where we inspire you so you can #resist.
Subscribe and get a new episode of the Final Word podcast each week. It's the news we think you need to hear.
That's right. We think you need to hear it. Okay?
Yeah, it's what we say so.
That's right. And because all we do is give, every Thursday you can listen to our hysterical podcast, Idiot of the Week.
We round up the stupid because you know what? Somebody has to.
Okay. All we do is give.